Hi folks, Brian Smith here. I'm the editor of your Fly Lines magazine for the last 5 or 6 years. And a few issues ago I began doing a feature article on designing dry flies for rivers and streams. And this is our part 3, which is the caddis fly, and I'm going to feature the CDC caddis today. These are the tools of the trade. The hook we're going to use is a Tiemco 101. Size 14. We'll use tan UTC thread, UTC 70. For the CDC puff, I've got the Wapsi CDC materials and deer hair. You want a fairly short deer hair. You don't want the really long ones. Just want a short one. For the body, I'm going to use a tan dubbing. And for the hackle, I'm going to use a dun hackle. This is the CDC, what I call the CDC DH caddis. So basically what it is it's an elk hair caddis, but I use a little bit different materials. I use a CDC puff for the trailing feather, and it sort of imitates the trailing shuck of a caddis when it's hatching. And I use deer hair instead of elk hair. I like deer hair better. It's not as coarse, it's finer, and it stacks up for wings better. So to begin, I've chosen a hook. The Tiemco 101 is a good hook for this because it's got a big eye and it's got the right length and whatnot. I debarb the hook, and I just put a little bit of dubbing on the hook just to make everything sort of stick when I tie it on. So I attach my thread, and coming down right to the back. Clip that off. CDC feather. I sort of designed this myself in using this CDC feather. It's the oil gland from a duck, and what it is very waterproof. It floats like a darn, and it also imitates well a trailing shuck. So that's what we call a CDC puff feather. And for length, I'm going to have just the length of the hook shank, and I'm going to tie it in right there. So I've got the length of the hook shank trailing behind. And I can adjust this a little bit just by pulling up on it. And bringing it backward for me. So that's going to trail behind the body. The next thing I'm going to put on is a hackle, and I've chosen a dun hackle and a size 14. You can use your hackle gauge and get the right size of the hackle. What I like to do with hackles and whatnot is I like to take my scissors and I just take a few fibers out of the back end of them. And what I'll do is I'll flatten them because the hackles are oval, and if you flatten them a little bit, it tends to make them not spin around when you tie them on. And I'm going to tie this on with the flat side towards the eye of the hook, and just put her on like that. Trail it behind. Next comes the dubbing, which is the body. So what I'll do is take a little bit of dubbing thread, little dubbing wax, pardon me, and put it on. And the dubbing that I'm going to use is a tan dubbing. This one here, it's a great color for caddis. And what we just do is take this in pieces and apply it to your hook side. That's enough. Take my hackle pliers, and I'm going to dubbing on, and I'll double thread it. Bring it up about one eye length behind the eye for the length of it. And I'm just going to reverse my drubbing like this, and I'm going to begin winding it on. Take a wind over the top. I'll bring it down and behind and under the CDC puff, and then I'll continue forward. Just in. Wind it all the way up, and again stop about one eye length behind the eye of the hook, and we'll tie that off. Now, after you've tied the body up and tied it off, you can take a Velcro brush, and I just use basically an ice cream stick, and I've attached Velcro to them, and you can just sort of clean up your body a little bit. You can pull it out, fibers out, or whatever you want to do, just trim it up so it looks good. And next I'm going to take the hackle, and I'm going to wind it up the fly, which is called palmering. And I'm going to make about 5 wraps. And again, tie it off about an eye length behind. And trim. Then I'll take my scissors, and I'm going to just trim the tops of the hackle off so the wings, when I put them on, won't stick up so much. And just take your fingers and press them down a little bit like that. This caddis is probably my all-time favorite for fishing rivers, and caught a lot of fish in the Stalaco on it. Next you want is your deer hair for the wing. And I like a fairly short deer hair. It's not long, it's not really short. It's kind of what I call medium. And I like a lighter color. You can get deer hair in different colors, like gray, and this is natural, but it's just taken from a part of the deer that gives me what I want. I'm just going to clip some of this out. My scissors, like so. Take it in this hand, and what I'll do is I'll just, instead of putting them in a stacker, because these deer hair, this is a pretty short deer hair, I can just do it by hand if you get used to grabbing it right. And this deer hair is going to go right over top and just end at the end of the shank, in other words, in front of the CDC puff a little bit. I'll measure it out like so. Then I'll put it in my left hand, and I'm going to trim this just so I don't have to trim it again. It's going to stand up. If you get it right, and it's going to take a little bit of practice, you won't have to do that. So again, transfer hands. Now I'm going to tie it in. I'll do 3 fairly loose, and then I'll tighten it up. And that stands up in front. And I'll finish off my fly. A couple of half-hitch finishes. Take a look at it. I want these bottom hackles to be flat so the fly will ride flat on the surface. And basically there's your CDC caddis finished. Thanks for watching.